Today I'm going to show you some seals I found over the years in Wiltshire and the impressions they make on either clay or hot wax. The first seal is a 17th century, probably about Civil War period, bronze seal matrix. It has a kind of a goat's head on there, which as you can see makes quite a reasonable impression there on the hot wax, which I demonstrated on the previous video. The wax is very hot and is tricky to use, but once it's on there it's very permanent. This one was found in Wiltshire about 8 years ago at Ogburn St Andrew, I believe, without referring to my records. Very nice. The next seal I'm going to show you is very similar. Bit later, this one. Probably about 1680, 1700. It looks a little bit more uniformly made. It has it's a bit like a cast design. It's got a lion rampant there, as you can probably see, and again it seems to make a more deluxe version of an impression than the previous seal. As I say, this one's it's probably about 320 years old, so it's a little bit later, but found in Wooden Bassett, I believe, about 7 years ago. Very beautifully made. And there's another one I made an impression of earlier. This one is it's a really nice medieval ring. It's a seal ring, probably from a merchant, circa 1500, I should imagine. This was found in river dredgings near Cricklade a couple of years ago. Very nice too. The fabric is intact and it makes a nice impression there, which is probably of a letter D, or it looks like it's an ornamental D, but about 15th century in date, and probably quite a wealthy guy would have had that one. And that was again come up pretty well intact, and very nice too. Slightly more unusual one, this one. This is a pipe tamper plus a seal ring. It has as you can see, it has a clear impression on the bezel there of HW or WH or MH. It depends how he sort of comes out on the. But as you can see, very well made. Dating to, let's say, 17th century. It could be just around the Commonwealth period, because it looks quite simply made. And this was found about 5 years ago, I think. Again, this was just outside Wooden Bassett towards Lynham, and pretty non-interesting field really, but a few hammered coins have been found there. And this one here, as you can see, it's a bit like a Blue Peter, this one. This is a Georgian seal, which has a glass intaglio, intact, perfectly intact there, of a sailing ship. As I say, it looks a bit like the old Blue Peter badge there, and again, it's like a moulded piece of brass. It's exquisitely. It would have been gilded, and there's still very small traces of it on there. But again, to get that from a ploughed field intact is pretty marvellous, really. Excellent little find. About 10 years ago from, I think that was Ogburn St George. Another seal from Ogburn St George, going towards Chiseldon, is this rather nice medieval round seals matrix. This one has, as you can see, it has like a rabbit there logo around some letters. Sahova Robin, which is like it's an old war hunting cry or something like that. With the rabbit on there, it's probably more to do with hunting, but again, this one is is very well executed, very well engraved. Sadly, it's missing its loop, which was not a major tragedy, but that's probably how it came to be lost anyway. But as you can see, lovely condition, nice patina, fantastic little find. Again, this was, like I say, this was just outside the Chiseldon area. I think it was about 10 years ago. Now then, we come to some. I think these are slightly more interesting. Here we have a lead medieval seal matrix. As you can see, again, he's perfectly intact with like a fleur-de-lis on the base there. Makes a nice clear impression. As you can see. And makes a nice impression in the clay. I'm not using wax for the old seals because I'm worried about causing them any damage, and that hot wax is pretty tricky to use. I did burn myself with it once already today, so I think we'll stick with the cold clay. I think a lot safer. As you can see, it's Matilda Melendin, it actually says on there, according to the museum, although I've recorded all these with the PAS. Melendin the Miller, apparently, that one, which is quite nice. That came from Chiseldon. As you say, you wait years for one, and two will turn up in the same field. This was by Chiseldon Church, this one. This is a nice bronze Vesica seal matrix, as you can see. Excellent condition there. It looks like a hand of faith with a goblet there, according to my eyes, but wonderfully intact and well executed. We have some letters around the outside, which is difficult to interpret really, but it's John Rosé, which as it come from near the church, I think it may well have belonged to the priest of Chiseldon Church there, where they used to do the archery practice years ago. Remarkably, it was found very close to the other seal, and as you can say, you can wait years to find a seal, and yet a couple that turn up, on the same field is ridiculous. And not a million miles away. This is probably the best one I've found. This one is again a beautiful fabric. Actually, this one is probably pretty well faultless in every regards. I mean, the other one is nice. I just think you have the old suspension loop, which they're quite sturdily made, these seals. We have a pelican with his chicks, and this one is a pelican, letters around the edges there, Pelican Day, and which is really a religious theme really from the Middle Ages. This one again, like the previous seal, would be about 14th century in date, exquisitely made. The letters are absolutely spot on. It's, whoever made this one has clearly put a lot of effort into it, and as you can see, the seal produces a lovely impression in the FEMA clay, or and it's a privilege to have found it. And this one came from the other side of Chiseldon, I believe. Yes, it was found on a footpath on the other side of the village. This was probably lost by a priest again, as it has a religious symbolism, and is, well, we don't find too many in that condition, and they're rather beautiful to find. I'll see if I can just zoom in on it just a second.